Good evening, beautiful people. Thank you so much for being here. We are on a new platform. I'm so excited to be here. This is your usual hashtag gather to grow with Food from Zanzi, but it's not on X. It's going to be here on Instagram Live. And I'm so happy to, be here and to be able to share and just do what we do weekly, but on a completely different platform. Tonight, we're talking unlocking funds and land for women in agriculture. So I'd like to ask my speakers tonight just to come and request and join me, but I'm really eager to engage with all of you. The only downside, I think, guest for this evening is Ipeleng Kwadi. I think you guys know her. If you in agriculture, she's one of the farmers that I really enjoy. Hi. Yeah, it's okay if you don't have your video on for now. Yeah, how do we unlock funding? That's exactly what we're going to be discussing tonight. So please stay tuned. We're just waiting for other speakers to arrive and then we'll get the show on the road. Then looking beautiful as always. I love it. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome.
Thank you, Dawn.
We're just waiting for Vivian to join us as well. Vivian is the Chief Directorate for Development Finance at the Department of Agriculture and Land Reform and Rural Development. So she's also going to be joining us in a moment. Guys, I must be honest, I'm so proud of this lady. She joined Instagram today and she's on a live today. So shout out to you. Yay. Vivian, thank you so much. She should be a speaker right now. Perfect. Oh, lovely. Cool. So I have Vivian Pilla, who is the Chief Director at Development Finance at the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development as a guest. Welcome, Vivian. I have Veronica Ashwanzi. She's a farmer, a social entrepreneur, and she's also the Stakeholder Relations Director at AWEA. And AWEA, I think we've heard from Agnes also in this month. They do a lot of amazing development work within agriculture for women in the space. And I'm so happy to have her on board as well. And then I think the farmer in the house and also wearing many, many hats, Ipeleng Kwadi really needs little to no introductions. She is a farmer. She's the chairperson of Youth in Agriculture and Rural Development in the Northwest Province. She's a mentor on many different spaces. But I'm going to allow each of them just to tell me more about themselves, more about their journey within agriculture, and also just what they love most about what they do. Vivian, I'm going to start with you. Thanks.
Good evening, everyone. Just for the point of correction, Vivian Pila. I'm not a chief director. I am the deputy director in the Chief Directorate Development Finance in the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. Thank you for hosting me this evening.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. Apologies about that. I should correct that on my part as well. Really appreciate that you're with us. And again, thank you just for being here and for sharing your knowledge and for, just being able to share all of the information that we would need to access funding and land within agriculture. I'm going to give over to Veronica. Veronica, maybe just more about you, about your journey within agriculture. You're a farmer and also a social entrepreneur. Tell us more about the work that you do.
Thanks, Dawn. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity, Dawn. My name is Veronica. I am first and foremost die-hard developer of human beings at the base of the pyramid, and that's how I could call myself a social entrepreneur. I've worked in the space for 13 years, and the last 3 years I've been in agriculture. In agriculture, predominantly, we focus on developing mainly women and youth so that they can participate more meaningfully in the agriculture value chain. And I'm so glad Food from Zanzi is doing a lot to actually create awareness and educate and entice people in the space. So thank you for this.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. I don't think we could really do. Yeah, thank you so so much, Veronica. I don't think we can really do any of this without any of you. So whenever anyone comments or says thank you to us based on the fact that we just do what we do every day, that's always my response. Like, we are because of you. So thank you so much for that and for that acknowledgement and just for sharing your thoughts also around, your journey within agriculture and how much you love it. Ipeleng, you really don't need any introductions, but if you do want to know more about her, she recently did a podcast with me as well, on Farmers Inside Track. But Ipeleng, maybe just for those who might not know you, tell us more about you, what you do in agriculture, also just all of the areas and spaces that you work in within the sector. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Don. Good evening, everyone, the listeners, and all these beautiful women who just joined us tonight. It is such an honor to be on this platform, especially on Women's Month. My name is Ipeleng Kwaji. I'm a Northwest-born cattle farmer. I'm operating in a family farm based in Brits, and we are breeding the quality Bonsmara cattle. And I'm the chairperson of Youth in Agriculture and Rural Development in the Northwest Province, and also serving at the national level as the convener of Youth in Agriculture and Rural Development. So I do partly the mentorship with the NYDA in the Tshwane office, and we do mentorship of agriculture. And then we also have the mentorship within the food security pillar in the office of the Premier in the Northwest Province. So I get the opportunity to interact with young farmers as youth within the country to get to engage with them, especially on programs that the department is also offering, programs such as Narisec, where we recruit unemployed youth and then we give them with a certain skill. And also, we do have some commitment letters from the projects that we are taking training for on behalf of them. And then, so our main vision is to also link the young farmers to the working environment. So part of my work is community development. Thank you. Over to you, Don.
Thanks, Ipeleng. And I think the role that you play is so vital. And I actually want to keep you, here for the first question, just around, what are some of the challenges or the unique challenges that specifically women face when it comes to, focusing on funds and accessing land? You've obviously engaged with women throughout your province, but also nationally, keeping in mind the various roles that you play. What do you think? What have you come across? I mean, they are very generic things, but maybe you can just pinpoint certain issues that you're focusing on in terms of your work. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Don. The most critical challenge that we have identified as the Organization of Youth in Agriculture and Rural Development is that we've got a lot of young youth that is farming, and they've got lack of access to the market. You'll find there's a potential in a certain province where this young woman is producing, but then struggling with the market. So I think part of the conversation that we had on our podcast is that the most critical part is compliance, to understand your market, what are the requirements, because most of the markets, they will tell you their exact requirements. And due to the high rising of fees, due to the high rising of the standard of living and instability of our economy, you find that it's very difficult to meet the requirements of the market, and also to get all those certificates of compliance, to penetrate into the formal market. So the most critical issue is the market that is formal, to make sure that as a producer, you are definitely sure that when you harvest, your products are going to penetrate into the market. There is no loss that's going to be there. So yes, over to you, Don.
Thanks so much. I think market access is definitely one of the biggest challenges, and it connects specifically around, accessing funds. Just have one comment here that I want to respond to. Someone's asking what is the name of the podcast. So our podcast that I was talking about and where Ipeleng is featured in is Farmers Inside Track. You can go onto any podcast platform and go and follow us there. And we do weekly episodes with amazing people, specifically also the essentials for new and developing farmers, but also newly commercialized farmers. So hop over there. You can listen to the podcast. It's really great. I host it with some of my other colleagues, and I'm definitely telling you, you won't be missing out. There's lots to kind of look into and access in terms of your own development. Okay, so just back to the point that I was trying to make, market access is vital, but it obviously links into, accessing funds. Veronica, would you say that that is critical, and also maybe some of your areas and challenges when it comes to accessing, funds and land for women in this country?
Thanks for that question, Dawn. So when I think about access to funds and land for women, I first take a look back on in developing countries. We have about 80% of food production is done by women, and this is done either mostly in a form of labor in the farms, and also going back to selection of what the family should eat, and also partly cooking the food, right? So you have 80% of food production done by women, yet ownership of land is I think on a single digital in a lot of African countries, for example. And then when you look at the implication of poverty, and that is connected to economic empowerment, women are the ones that are mostly hit, and therefore their families are the ones that mostly suffer. So the two access to land and access to fund, there's always a feeling sometimes of catch-22. If you go to a bank and you want funding for food production, they'll ask you for collateral. So you don't have access to a title deed, for example, or a document to show that there's ownership of land. And that becomes one of the biggest challenges that we have. But at the same time, there's enough evidence to show that ownership of anything, leave alone land, when you own something, you feel empowered, you feel you're in control, and you feel that the commitment is different, right? So imagine land. If a woman owns land, there's evidence that suggests that it will the increase of productivity is inevitable. A woman being the mostly the first person who decides what the family should eat would know what to grow, not only for economic gains, but also to feed the family, right? So income is inevitable in that sense. And also research that was done by USAID in a country, I think it was in Rwanda, it showed that there's an increase of up to 20% of women's interest to participate in land conservation as compared to men. So when you empower women and give them land ownership, so many other things, it has a lot of multiplier effect, which directly will actually reduce poverty, which is, of course, a lot of developing countries are struggling with. The second thing is when it comes to access to funding, right? Lack of knowledge also becomes a problem, because a lot of times today in South Africa, if you have leased land, you can access fund. So now if women are not educated to understand that leased land is equally as good as collateral for 15 or so years, you can access funding for you to empower yourself. Then it's also another problem. So I think it's very important that women understand the options that are available. Land ownership is important, but it's not everything and anything. You might not be able to own land today, but you can lease and still achieve what you want to achieve. Thanks.
Yeah, great insights, Veronica. And I think it in part answers some of my other questions in terms of, what is this access to this land? How does it contribute to agricultural development and food security? So I think that's extremely vital to kind of look at when we talk about this. And so thanks for just bringing those insights into the conversation as we kick off. I feel like we just got into it and we barely touched the surface. And I want to try and get our other speakers to also join us. I think, Vivian, I want to talk to you specifically with your role at the department as to what are some of the successful strategies or initiatives that have been implemented to improve women's access to funds and land in Mzansi's agricultural sector. And later we'll talk about how this can be improved, but let's talk about the existing initiatives and how to access that. Thanks so much, Vivian.
Thank you. Am I audible? First of all,
Yes, you are.
Okay.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. Yes, you are.
and thank you for our Mzansi women and everybody listening. I just want to start by stating the overall mandate of the government, which is facilitating the comprehensive rural development. We also develop value chains, providing agricultural inputs and increasing production, consumption, and also revitalizing the infrastructure in the sector. So in terms of the role of government policies and regulatory framework in accessing funding and land in the sector, they are mainly there to enable the conducive environment for resource poor farmers, so that we reduce inequality and thereby increasing employment opportunities and income generation. My colleagues here, they have alluded in terms of the challenges that our women are encountering in terms of accessing these production resources. So basically, in terms of land allocation, there are certain requirements that are hindering women to access funding and land. So in terms of land, the issues of experience in commercial farming, the issues of level of education and ownership of assets, they are hindering the access in terms of land allocation, and the complex land tenure system that may be challenging for our women to register and formalize their the land rights. And in terms of funding, there are issues such as lack of developing business plans or business proposals, lack of information and awareness on these funds that are available in the government. And also, my colleague mentioned collateral or security. That is the issue that may hinder access to funding. So the department in the main has developed several funding programs that are addressing these issues. And one of the funding program is MAFISA. MAFISA is the Micro Agricultural Financial Institution of South Africa, and is the loan funding that is there to address the financial needs of smallholder farmers. And MAFISA is accessed through the financial intermediaries, and they are in the provinces. We've got NERPO, it's a National Emergent Red Meat Producer Organization, which is looking at the livestock industry. It's all over the country. We've got a Peulana that is based in Gauteng and is focusing on all commodities, but it's in Northern Cape, Free State, Limpopo, KZN, and Northwest. And we also have a South African Sugar Association, which is looking at the sugar cane in Mpumalanga and KZN. And we also have the Eastern Cape Rural Development Agency that is looking at all the commodities in Eastern Cape, as well as Mpumalanga Economic Growth Agency that is looking at Mpumalanga in all commodities there. And MAFISA is the funding cap for MAFISA is up to 500,000 with the interest rate of 7%. So we also have the Comprehensive Agricultural Support Program. That is a conditional grant funding that provides post-settlement support in terms of on and off-farm infrastructure, the technical and advisory services, the business development, training and capacity building, knowledge and information management, as well as a financial assistance. We also have land development support. That is also a grant funding that is providing a comprehensive farm development support to land reform farms. And the main intention there is just to commercialize our black producers. We have also an agri BEE fund. That is the cost sharing fund. That is a grant plus your own contribution. And it is aiming at assisting Black producers to acquire equity in existing viable agribusinesses and marketing and agro-processing infrastructure so that we improve competitiveness in the sector. And lastly, we have a blended finance scheme that we have recently introduced, the combination of a grant and a loan, and it is also intending to improve access and affordable finance to commercialize producers. So just these are few of funding that is available in the sector, and they are there to improve the participation of women in the sector. And the other issue that is it's very crucial, Dawn, just to explain some of the things that I have put up front, is the issue of financial literacy in accessing the funds. So it is very crucial, and there are strategies that we can put in place, Dawn and everyone, to improve our women in terms of financial education and awareness. So we will talk about it when we go, Dawn, or should I just proceed with that?
Yeah, no, thanks. I think you said a lot. One of our guests is asking if they can see our faces. For sure, I would be, willing to do that. I just have my load shedding at the moment. Oop, and I also just have the wrong camera on. There we go. So that's me. Hi, everybody. I think I have load shedding, so that's why the light is kind of coming from my one side. But for sure, I can definitely show my face. Hi, and that on my guest. I think we did the round of introductions at the beginning. I think there we go. Veronica's here as well. If a link just dropped now, but I'm sure she'll join us again. Yeah. So I think you've said a lot. And I think there's a list of things, and people are actually specifically asking for access to that information. Maybe you can just briefly tell us how and where to access all of those information. All of that information specifically Platform Mzansi has today, for example, published an article connected to this topic as well. So you can hop over to Platform Mzansi. We've done a lot of these types of stories where we basically introduce all of these funds. We've even done a series podcast when it comes to the blended finance scheme as well. So that information is also available on Platform Mzansi. Yeah, so you also highlighted a very important aspect when it comes to financial literacy. And this is a very crucial aspect, in terms of accessing this kind of funding. But it is a major setback too. And I want to try and get Veronica into the conversation just to address the specific issue and talk about how we can improve it and why specifically it is hindering farmers and people in the agri space, and how we can kind of make it so that it's more accessible, that women actually across the board actually start knowing and understanding how to do this kind of thing more quickly, so that it doesn't delay them even further in terms of their growth within the sector. Yeah, thanks, Veronica.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you clearly.
Dawn, I missed the question entirely. My connectivity is poor. That's why I switch off my video. Just repeat a question for me, please.
So basically, I was just, I think what Vivian was highlighting the aspect of financial literacy, and that being crucial for anyone who is seeking funding for their ventures. And so I was just asking specifically how we can improve this financial education and awareness amongst women in agriculture, kind of enabling them to make informed decisions about investments and loans.
Oh, okay, thanks. So yeah, I totally agree with my fellow panelists about financial literacy. It is probably the most important for any business, leave alone agriculture. And at AWIA, we have in every program we do, whether it's a day's workshop or it's a 3-day training, whatever program we run, there has to be an element of financial literacy. You won't believe some of the basic disciplines that one has to have or to understand to keep records how much money do you spend for even traveling to go and buy seeds or seedlings, traveling back to the farm. I mean, it's really, really basic and becomes very important. So if that stage is not sorted, then borrowing money or receiving grant, it will not be sustainable because you don't have the capacity or the skill to manage your financials properly. And I think a lot of us have got the tendency of mixing money, your personal money, family, business, all of that is in one basket. So training becomes so critical. And I don't think we can do enough of that. So it has to be part of every program when you want to develop a farmer, female or otherwise. Thanks.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Ipeleng, maybe you can just talk about the work that you guys are doing to kind of encourage this in terms of your mentorship of young women farmers specifically. I'm not sure if you're having trouble with your connectivity. I see you cutting in and out, and I see that some of our guests are also telling us that connectivity isn't great. I do apologize about that. Sometimes this platform just does the thing where it just doesn't want to work, and I'm going through load shedding at the moment, but please do bear with us, and hopefully we can figure this out. I want to try and get the most out of my speakers, so thanks for your patience. Let's talk more around, if Elena is still with us, I just want to check if you can maybe just give us some of your example.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So I was just asking around some of, the aspects that you guys focus on, specifically with the work that you're doing in your various roles, developing young farmers and young, women farmers when it comes to financial literacy and also the important aspect of that. Just your take on that question. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dawn. We have the organizations, agricultural organizations, which is Youth in Agriculture and Rural Development in South Africa. And the organization is a national organization that is autonomous, and it is also set footprints in different provinces. We've got our provincial structures in all the 9 provinces, and within each and every province, we've got structures within the regions and up to the locals. So in our organization, what we are saying is that let's collaborate as farmers and get the opportunity to be part of the policy making that are done within the department, and also allow young people to raise their challenges collectively to the department, and also give opportunity to young farmers to network, get opportunity to find out how one of our farmers are coping in these difficult eras, because it's very easy to communicate through our WhatsApp groups, through our networking dialogues and all those things. That space allow young people to also raise their frustration, and also we learn a lot, and it also all the opportunities that are there within the department, we approach them collectively as the organization. So the most important part is that we are able to approach the department and identify the areas or the programs that possibly could be done within provinces. And the department is autonomous. It's not a department organization. It's an autonomous structure where the department is part of the service providers that are able to say, we can assist you up to this level. So it's better when you work as an organization and you also understand that you belong in a certain organization, and you are giving the opportunity or the platform to sit down with the people who are making the decisions within the agricultural space. So those are some of the things that we offer our young people. So yes.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Ipeleng. I think one of the important aspects of things that I picked up on was, specifically around policy and this regulatory frameworks, and, what role government kind of plays when it comes to this. I think we've spoken about it very clearly. There are a lot of platforms there. It is, people are able to access it, and government facilitates it. But, sometimes it also seems like there can be hindrances when it comes to it, especially when it comes to accessing funds. But there's a lot more to it. I want to ask Veronica just to kind of focus on the examples of policy changes that have been made. And I think we'll get Vivian to talk about that as well. Policy changes that have been made that have a bit of a more positive impact, and also just to understand that better and how we can kind of grasp it and understand how these processes actually work, and not just say, well, government doesn't fund or there's no funding available, because there is. I mean, we wouldn't be having this conversation if there wasn't. But it's just kind of knowing how to navigate it, I think, is a very important aspect of it. Veronica?
Thanks, Dawn. So you're very right. There is a lot of funding in the space, a lot of funding. And I think if you turn around, there's a lot of funding. That I think there's a disconnection between access to that funding, information of where to find that funding, and the beneficiary who was supposed to find that funding. Where are they, right? So that disconnect is what I think is the reason why you find there's so many players in the space, because the gap is big, and we are all trying to fill that gap so that the beneficiaries are aware of the funding available. They have the information and they're able to access it. Again, we talk about financial literacy, not just financial literacy, just a general skills to be able to access that funding and the demand that come with accessing to funding. So you find that I'll give an example of a bank that is known to give loans or to give funding for farmers. That their approach was very, should I say, I'm trying to choose my words carefully. The drive towards empowering Black farmer led to lending money that it was difficult to recover. So because of that, they had to change the policy on how to lend money, what should be the prerequisites, and they put different sort of checks and balances before they can lend money to farmers. So the intention was good, but the process was not so good, and of course the follow up thereafter was not good. So there was a lot of defaults on the money that was given to farmers. So in every, I think also in any, if I'm not mistaken, there's a lot of, because of the emphasis on trying to support female farmers and Black farmers for that matter, there's been some improvement on the terms and conditions, more relaxed interest rate, better terms of blended finance. So you get maybe a loan of a certain amount of money, but you're told 60 is grant and 40 is debt. So there are quite a number of changes around embracing and trying to develop Black farmers that are very different from organization to organization, institution from institution to institution. But they're there, and the changes are there, and one needs to dig deeper to understand what is in their favor. From one institution to another. But there are quite a number of changes, because initially a lot of things didn't work, and part of the reason why it didn't work is because we all get excited about something until we get it and we realize it's not a walk in the park. So farming is not easy, it's challenging. There are so many moving pieces. If it's not frost, it's too much rain. If it's not that, it's access to market. It's quite a number of things. So I think I'll stop there. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for that. I think, there are so many, moving parts, and it's very difficult to kind of pull it all in and understand that, you need to look here, look there, but also be aware that it all works in this setup that can work for you. You just need to know how. And I want to kind of bring Vivian back into the conversation, because one of our listeners is asking, what does the law say about people who have been allocated land but not using it for produce, blocking others from having access? I'd like to ask Palesa just to maybe elaborate a bit on that. And also if Vivian could maybe just touch on this one. So what I'm understanding is that Palesa is saying, what does the law say about people who have been allocated land, but they're not using it? So they're not using the land, but they're also not giving access to others who maybe could use the land. Yeah. Is this something that you can comment on, Vivian?
Yeah. Dawn, I just want to state that the legislations and policies that are there in the department that are assisting our farmers in terms of accessing land, the state land lease and disposal policies. There is that is focusing on lease and immovable assets. There's also a proactive land acquisition policy that is there to guide in terms of land acquisition. I'm not really in a state that I can answer that question because I'm not dealing with land issues per se. But those are the policies that are in place in the department. There's also a beneficiary selection and land allocation policy that is providing a kind of uniform and fair and transparent processes, as well as the criteria in selecting these beneficiaries in terms of the leasing of state properties and land allocation. But in the main, I just want to share the policies that are in the department in terms of support programs, supporting farmers. We have the national policy on comprehensive producer development support that has been developed recently. And that policy is just trying to regulate and guide the sector in terms of supporting service interventions that are provided for different categories of farmers. I'm not sure if you are aware, we have 5 categories of farmers. We have the household, which is comprised of the vulnerable and the subsistence. We have the smallholder, and we have the medium, large, and mega producers. And this policy on comprehensive producer development support is advocating the support programs that are available and existing in the department to prioritize our women in terms of a share in their budget, to prioritize 50% for women, as well as 50% for youth and 6% for people living with disabilities. And we have the recent agriculture and agro-processing master plan, that is the social compact between the government, the civil society, the labor and industry in the sector. And it is focusing on commercial land reform in rural areas so that we increase food production, and also the on-farm infrastructure, as well as transforming the sector itself. And it is there to prioritize women along agricultural value chain. Dawn, there are so many policies that are there in the department, but I just want to share with our listeners that you can access these policies and programs, and also the funding in the departmental website, which is www.dalrrd.gov.za. So everything that you need in terms of policies and programs, strategies, and intervention, they are there to give you a much detailed information. Thank you, Dawn.
Thanks so much, Vivian. I think the question, just back to Palesa, she was saying that in her area, there's a huge list of people who have been leased land, and getting into the system makes it difficult because their period hasn't ended. Okay, I get that now. Okay, I understand it better, Palesa. Thanks so much for the clarity. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and host another session where we just focus on land. I think there's so much to cover with this topic, and we only have about 10 minutes left. I don't want to take much more of the woman's time in this session. I think it's so great, and I'm so happy that all of you are here. Just a note that if you want to ask a question or pop a message, rather do the question option, because then it leaves it at the top and then I can kind of follow, and then just put your questions in as well. Okay, Tinetemba just saying, great conversation. Financial institutions such as banks and microfinance organizations contribute to hindering women's ability to access funds for agricultural businesses. Yeah, we touched on that briefly with Veronica, and it's actually one of my questions listed in terms of microfinance and microcredit schemes, having gained popularity as tools to empower women in agriculture. And I want to just talk over some of the potential benefits and the challenges associated with these financial mechanisms. I want to try and get Veronica back into the conversation. What is your take on this? What has your experience been? And maybe you can share some of the stories and women that you've worked with. Thanks.
Hi, Dawn. Thanks again for the question. So I think today in South Africa, there is a lot of grant money. Before you get to the bank, try and access grant money because of the it's a soft landing for any farmer or entrepreneur who wants to embark on that route. So it's very, for me, I would always advocate for a person to go and get either grant or blended finance. But most importantly, either you partner with somebody who has the understanding of farming and experience, or yourself, you're good at you are experienced as an experienced farmer. So access funding through microfinance or microcredit, it can be a challenge, especially because majority of the population in South Africa today, the requirements are somewhat scary. They can put you off. You ask somebody for a business plan. If you've never written a business plan, it's a difficult document to put together. You won't even know how to put it together. So microfinance or banks, that's the first thing they will ask you, and they make it very difficult, and you get this feeling of being intimidated by these large institutions. So understand what is available at the cheapest cost possible, and by this I mean you've got SIFA, you've got SIDA who can give you non-financial support, NYDA, if you're part of the youth, they've got grants. A lot of other institutions, they've got grants and non-financial support that you need as a farmer. You need to understand, you need to have access to other resources such as inputs, such as extension workers. So access funding by itself, without all this other support around you, you are actually most likely going to have challenges of actually farming successfully. So you need to actually understand, what does it take? And do I just need funding? Where else can I get other support? And then we embark on that. But most of the ladies that we've worked with, some of them through our incubation and our workshops, they have taken the benefit of using grants to actually propel their businesses. And most of them are doing well, because we all need that soft start, if I can put it that way. Thanks.
Thanks, Veronica. We have a question here from OEL officials saying, how do we lobby for the simplification of the application process, especially for new farmers? The application, requirements, the audience. So I agree with that. It is. It does take a lot. It just feels like you're an administrator 24 hours a day, besides all of your other work, and actually running the farm and running your agribusiness. Is there any advice from your side, Ipeling? How do you think we can make it, how can we lobby to kind of simplify these processes and make it easier to access and even to understand all the paperwork that goes into it? It's a lot. Ipeling, any comments on this? I want to get Vivian's take on it as well, although he's on the other side, so I don't know if he'll be able to answer this question directly. Because some of the steps and regulations or requirements are there for a reason based on her position and where she's at. But if anything else, your comments on this?
Okay. Thank you, Don, once again. Look, the conversation around the fundings and the land, it's very sensitive because there are a lot of women who are producing. If you can look in South Africa, women are taking opportunity, and I would be lying if I personally would say I've been funded by the department. But as I'm operating in the province, I've just told myself that the advice that I have to myself is that I'm treating my farming business as my business, and I'm going to operate, and I'm surviving by interacting with other farmers around the province, and also networking with other women. It also helps me to grow my program. And this thing of approaching when you buy our feeds, when we buy whatever farming facilities that we need, we buy in bulks, we do collaborate, and then we buy our winter feed, and then the prices, at least they drop, not that much, a little bit, but whatever that we do, you sit down and find out who's on the same space as you, and then the common things, the basics that you need to run your business, you just collectively buy. And then if the department is gonna fund you, we do apply on yearly basis. And I'm happy that women are not giving up. Currently for the past 3 years, we've been encouraged that, okay, Ipeleng, you are producing beef, we can see there's a farm, and you are operating on daily basis, you are taking your products wherever, but you need to tap into the agro-processing space. And we know that tapping into agro-processing means that you need to upgrade your business. You also need certain facilities to make sure that you are able to process your meat and all those things. So it's very difficult on the primary level. So now it's still urge women, particularly farmers, to work together and utilize these organizations and work collaboratively in making sure that they are improving their businesses. The future looks bright. If you can look in our College of Agriculture, in the institutions like agriculture, ARC, there are a lot of young women who are doing our researches, and they are also plowing back to the communities by coming and assisting us within the farms, especially on animal health and the nutrition. So I'm urging farmers to say these initiatives where the department will be hosting a farmers day, or will be like on Friday, I know the minister is hosting Women's Day Empowerment. Such initiatives, you might not be funded with the money directly. Maybe they are signing cash and saying, yes, 200,000, go and buy feed for your animals. But I'll urge farmers to use these networking sessions to gain and to benefit in terms of all these service providers that are there to give us the information. Service providers like Oparo and other service providers within the agriculture space. Let's make sure that we network enough. You take that opportunity to network with those people, find out how they can help you within your business. And each and every Farmers Day, when you leave there, you must tick boxes that I've made a contact with Bonsmara SA, I've made a contact with Agri SA. I went back to this institution and say, these are the presentation that you have done. You don't go there alone. You get other farmers, and collaboratively you approach this service providers and say, here we are a group of farmers, how can you assist us? I think for me, for the past years, it has worked much better to take the second step into making follow-up within the services that have been presented. Because if you are going to sit in this Farmers Day and say you'll be waiting for the department to fund you, there are a lot of people who are waiting for funding, and at the end of the day, we are an insecure country. We need to secure food, not only at the country level, but also it's important that from the local municipalities within our schools. That's why, Dawn, I'm very passionate in going down to the villages and making sure that we do garden within the school initiatives, within the churches. If we are confident enough to say, I can grow a garden in a school, I can grow a garden at the church. I know at the community level, they are purchasing the spinach or the beetroot or whatever at church or at school. I mean, we are winning. Then now we can start saying, we can start fighting for the land. But the issue of the land, we can talk about it for the next coming 10 years, wanting to grab the land back. But the question is still on the table, that are we ready to utilize that land? Do we have enough skills to say, I can operate? I was so impressed by one of the shows on Tuesday where I saw a woman in Free State. She owns 1,184 hectares of land. And I was asking myself, if it's me, I put myself in your shoes, would I be able to facilitate the maintenance of the farm? So I think I'll leave it on that one, that farmers need to work together collaboratively, identify opportunities and work. I know the department is trying. I know the department is having a lot of empowerment for women, and also at the district, at the provincial, at the national level, they are really trying, and I'm applauding them for them. So for also including women in their programs. But us as farmers as well, we need to learn within ourselves that we need to work collaboratively. Thank you on that, Ron.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think you do it so well, Ipimeng. You've really found a space where you thrive, to be honest. I've seen you in action. And I think it's a place that we kind of encourage it across the board all the time. I don't think I've ever heard you in a space not talking about that. So lobbying all the way, I guess, in exactly the way you know how. We are running out of time, and I'd love to have, continue this conversation. I think we could possibly do this at another time, with other speakers. I'm sorry about this. I usually enjoy having various voices, and now that we're on this new platform, it is a little bit different, but you're welcome to add a comment. And we have one here from Sinetemba saying, traditional and cultural practices that have historically limited women's right to own and control land in rural South Africa. And this is also one of the points that I wanted to focus on. And she's saying, how can we fight against these practices to support gender equality? That's definitely what I wanted to focus on for a moment, is just to talk about these traditional norms and practices that do act as a barrier for women's ownership of land. And how do we kind of address these issues to create a more equitable environment? It's not easy. I mean, I think when I started in the sector, and probably these are conversations that my mom, for example, was having in exactly the same way 20 years ago. So how do we start changing it? How do we speed this process up? Veronica, Vivian, any comments on this?
Thanks, Dawn. I think in the agriculture space, we say you are what you eat, right? Which is very, very true. But also we are a product of our environment, which means how we behave, how we talk, how we eat, how we interact with people is really built around our cultures and beliefs, right? So traditionally, women are not supposed to, we are not supposed to own land for various reasons, right? And that becomes a very sensitive issue to discuss. And how do we move from there? So the first thing I always try and do is to understand why was that reason there in the first place? And every cultural area that you go, they will have a different reasons, right? When you understand why that happened, then you'll be able to try and look for solutions, not you as an individual, but as a collective. What is very important is once you understand why, then we go towards addressing why we should empower women. And we said in the beginning, a woman makes decision on what should be eaten in the house. A woman is the nurturer who takes care of the child. A woman is the one who mostly is a laborer in the farm. So it's very important that she owns the part of that land, right? Now, education and, should I say, advocacy and upskilling women and men as to why women should own land is very important. So when it comes to education, you don't call people in Bizo. You actually break it down to different areas of groups of people where we think it's important to educate. So you have to talk to traditional leaders separately as to why they should allow women to own land. You have to talk to children at school as an education part of the curriculum, why girls and boys should be treated equally. You should talk to parents how to raise up boys and girls as the world is your oyster. You can achieve anything you want to achieve, so that when it comes to sensitive issues like land ownership, it's no longer an issue. By the time the child is 18, she understands she can access land. You have to talk to religious organizations as well. So you have to address this issue differently to get the best results. What is important is it has to be ongoing. There's no shortcut to this. We're talking about changing people's beliefs and culture. It could take decades, but it has to start, and I know it has started, right? The other thing that is very important is support groups. So we should have NGOs that support these initiatives. We should have legal entities that support these initiatives. We should have the government. So for example, in South Africa, everyone has a right to own land. We know that. But how many women own land? It's a handful. So the constitution, the law is on our side, but the enforcement is a different story. So when it comes to support, there has to be a deliberative and creative support structures across all groups that I've mentioned earlier, to make sure that slowly but surely people will see the reason why a woman should own land. And remember, it's not so much about a woman not owning land. A woman herself, I myself, might find it difficult to actually demand to own land because of my beliefs. So when you're trying to change, we change the entire community, not advocate for women only and leave men behind. No, you can't leave traditional leaders. You cannot leave religious leaders. You cannot leave government leaders. It is complex. It involves everybody, and it takes time. Thank you.
Yeah, it's definitely complex. Land ownership is a complex issue, and it, often also involves legal intricacies. So I think there's a lot to it, and it's not something that we're gonna figure out in an hour on this Instagram live. But I am very, grateful for the time that we have had here together to be able to engage on these topics and share a bit of information that we all have with our listeners here. Karabo just asking Ipeleng where is the event on Friday because she'd like to attend. Karabo, I'm sure you can connect with Ipeleng. Ipeleng is always ready to connect with people. So do maybe direct message her. I think she mentioned that it is a government event with the Minister of Agriculture. So yeah, Ipeleng, if you can just share with us, with everyone listening, where that event will be and how people can connect if they'd like to. And then I have one final question that I want to ask everyone. Final comment is just in terms of looking forward, what are your recommendations for stakeholders, including government, NGOs, financial institutions, to sort of collectively work towards a future where women have equal access to funds and land in agriculture? And I really want us to go to the ideal, what are we gunning for, and how do we get there? I'm going to start with you, Ipeleng, and also just to respond to the question about the event on Friday.
Okay. Look, the invitation came to the Youth in Agriculture and Rural Development Organization and also Women in Agriculture and Rural Development. So, Garabo, there were a certain number that has been allowed to go to the event. So the message was sent to the provinces. But if you can contact me privately on the DM, I can be able to find out where your province is and then check if there's a space for you to tap in. So if you are in Free State, for an example, I can also refer you to the coordinator for Free State, whom will be able to aid you. If you're under youth, I'll give you the coordinator for youth in Free State. If you are under Women in Agriculture, we can also give you the coordinator within that particular province, and then they can give you the opportunity to attend the event if there's a space. But if there isn't any space, I'm urging. I'm recruiting Dawn to. I'm urging women to join the Women in Agriculture and Rural Development in South Africa. It's an organization. It's also there in all the 9 provinces. That's where we get such opportunities. Thank you, Dawn.
Thanks, Ipeleng. Yeah, I value that you kind of link people up and find ways to kind of showcase what you're doing, but more so just sharing the information that's very vital. Vivian, do you want to maybe touch on my question around, recommendations from your side? Also, just last and final comment as we wrap up the session. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Dawn. I just want to urge our women in agriculture to participate in the planning, in the development of policies and programs, so that they can influence the development of these policies and programs, and designing of the financial instruments for them, for the farmers in general in the sector, so that they are able to make informed decisions in their businesses. And I just want to urge them to share experiences and challenges and success stories amongst each other so that they can enhance their financial awareness and awareness in terms of the production resources that are available in the sector. And most importantly, we as the department, we are creating awareness campaigns in the provinces in collaboration with our provincial counterparts and district, where we share issues of funding, issues of market capacity, market access, capacity building, and the importance of literacy is being shared by the unit of small business and development, as well as the cooperative units, where they assist cooperative in terms of developing the business plans and business management and financial management. So engagement with the government, it's very crucial so that we can learn and share experiences and build our farmers going forward. Thank you, Dawn.
Yeah, thanks, Vivian. Yeah, I agree. Just one point there, just to share more of the story, share more of your experience. I think that's important. Nothing stops you from sharing information. It's easily, to do that. It's not going to take away from what you have and what you can get. I think that's also very important. So often we keep information to ourselves, and there's no benefit, to anyone. So I think that's very important. Veronica, just your last and final comment.
And lastly, Dawn, they're not supposed to shy away from coming to the department any level to knock at our doors to find information, because sitting at home waiting for manna from heaven, it won't help. Seek for information from the department in your respective provinces. In the district, extension officers are there, agricultural economists are there to help you. They are there to assist you in terms of developing the business plans. They are there to give you information and also completing application forms that are difficult to complete, as well as the documents that are needed for you to access this funding. They are there to assist you. So don't shy away from knocking to their doors. Thank you.
No, definitely. I couldn't agree more with that one. Wilson just saying more time is needed to discuss this sensitive and interesting issue. I agree with you, Wilson, and I think I commented on that a moment ago. This is, one of many of the conversations that we've had around it and that we will have around it. It's not just limited to this time in this space. So thank you so much. Also, just as we kind of move towards closing, I'd like to know how people found this specific platform. Obviously, this was the first. We're moving from X to Instagram Live and Spaces to this platform. So let me know. You can DM Good from Zanzi. You can DM myself, Dawn Numdu, as well, if you'd like to just comment and tell me what the experience was. I, for one, missed the engagement with other voices, but I think that there was so much value here tonight with my 3 speakers. So thank you so much for that. Veronica, just your last and final comments. What are your recommendations? And also, what is the ideal? What do you dream about when you think about financial access, access to finance and land in this country?
Thanks, Dawn. For the past three or so years, when I actively joined the agriculture sector to develop women and youth, I cannot emphasize enough the opportunities that are there. I promise you, if you want to slash down unemployment to half of what it is today, it's agriculture and agriculture value chain opportunities. That is a guarantee. So what is my ideal place? What we're doing today as women to change the tapestry of the space, it's not something that will change today. It's a very slow moving wheel, right? So we're doing this for our great-grandchildren, for the future generations to come. We cannot stop. We have to continue. everything we're trying to do, every collaboration we're trying to make, it will not happen 100% today. It will happen 10%, which is good enough. Just need to keep on pushing. Opportunities are many. I cannot emphasize enough. There are so many opportunities. We need to talk more. As my colleague said, don't shy away to ask. Don't shy away to knock. Even if the 10th door is closed, keep on knocking. The 11th one will open. So I really want to urge women, men, young people, just keep on pursuing your dream that you have, because the support is there. It's just that maybe you're talking to the wrong people and you're getting frustrated. You shouldn't. Advocacy for me is very important, that all the NGOs involved, stakeholders, corporates, advocate to empower women in the space more than ever before. And no one will actually bring this empowerment to women like on a silver platter. We have to actually push it for us to gain it, right? It stands to empower the entire community, the entire world, when you empower women, especially in agriculture, because we are the decision makers when it comes to what should be eaten, the lifestyle of the community, etc. We play a bigger role, just that we're not as empowered. So that will be my compliment. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Veronica. I really enjoyed our time together. We've gone over time a little bit, but it was worth it. I hope that you will be back again next week on this platform. Also, just for those that wanted to know more about connecting and how to access some of the comments and also some of the information that was shared, if you go onto Food from Zanzi right now, there's an article and the title is Funding Got You in Your Feelings. Here are the do's and don'ts. It has a long list of basically everything that you need to know. There are the land bank guidelines is on there. The loan there's a section around loan application processes. So please hop over to Food from Zanzi. You can also read more about the blended finance for Black farmers. So there's loads of information available on Food from Zanzi. So if you're not following us, follow us now. If you haven't heard about us, then go and check it out. It's very much worth it. Next week, I'll be back on this platform. Hopefully, with not load shedding, I can show my face. We're going to be talking about macadamia nut farming. I'm really excited about this because one of the farmers that I've invited to this session, amazing guy. I visited his farm, really, really great work. I'm also going to be having the CEO of the South African macadamia industry joining us. We have another guest that used to be, joining me. She is Lauren Strever. She's from Mauritius Sweet Dragon Fruit Estate and Nursery. Again, thank you to my guests. Thank you, Vivian. Thank you, Veronica. Thank you, Ipeling. Y'all were great. And that actually brings me almost to the end of Women's Month. This was a long month, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed only exclusively featuring women on these sessions, and I can't wait to do it again. Have a great rest of the evening. And from my side, Donumdu, thank you so much, and have a great evening. Bye for now.